is Aji, and today we're continuing with our And You'll Never Guess What Happened series, where we attempt different fun and silly challenges, and track how they go. In the last episode, we played 20 games of solo duos, which was one of the toughest challenges yet. But today's video is going to be a little different, as over the last few months, some of the biggest names out there, like Mongrel and Benji Fishy, have been complaining about aim assist being too strong, with many comparing it to aimbot, due to how strong it can be on PC. So in today's video, we're going to be picking up the controller and testing it for ourselves, before deciding whether aim assist on PC is as overpowered as many people are claiming. So, let's jump straight into it. So with these 20 games being more about testing how strong aim assist is, rather than getting wins, my intention for these games was to get into as many fights as possible, so I could see if it's actually as broken as people say. And game 1 starts off well, as I get an early kill. I did laser hair with my SMG, but I wouldn't say that was anything crazy. Having not played on a controller consistently for 6 months, I think it was fair to say that I was feeling rusty, and with me also using different keybinds to what I used back in the day, it made it really difficult to play on, and stop myself from making mistakes, due to a lack of muscle memory. I prepared for these 20 games by going into creative, and then playing Team Rumble. All of this, I felt would help me to gain some muscle memory back on controller, before going into the 20 games. However, it's a completely different environment than playing solos, which I found out the hard way. The next game, whilst moving towards a circle, I see a player nearby. This is my first real build battle since being back on controller, and it felt a lot more awkward than I remember. Since leaving controller back in season 9, the meta has changed quite a lot. Back then, it was all about build fights, but now, it's all about box fighting, which made these 20 games very difficult, as editing is so much harder on controller, especially with it not having scroll wheel reset. Because of this, I would make a lot of costly mistakes during these 20 games.
Oh shit.
I figured that playing 20 games using a controller would be a good way of testing just how strong aim assist is, as it would give me a good amount of matches to get used to it and draw my own conclusions. It's much better to get a large sample size, rather than playing just a couple games, getting a few crazy clips, and then proclaiming that aim assist is overpowered.
Oh my god, what the fuck?
The field of view really didn't help me there. So we're 5 games in now, and in all honesty, I've not really been able to test how strong aim assist is, as I keep getting destroyed by almost everyone I run into. Everyone I come across is fairly decent at the game, ever since the added skill-based matchmaking, which made relearning controller incredibly difficult, as my opponents would punish every mistake I made.
Oh my god, I'm so fucking shit.
For this video, I decided to use legacy settings, rather than linear and exponential. I've heard good things about linear, but that would have taken a while to learn. Plus, legacy is near enough exactly what I used before, so I felt more comfortable with it. Also, legacy settings means you can L2 spam, which I used to use a lot.
Fuck, what can I do?
In game 7, I really wanted to play more aggressively, so I could get a sense of how strong aim assist is on PC. But once again, my rustiness on controller was getting in the way.
Oh, I'm just fucking terrible. I just can't do anything.
A lot of players claim that aim assist on PC is overpowered, and in fairness, if you look at some of the clips out there, I can understand why. However, cherry picking random clips isn't a good way at testing whether aim assist is OP, as it doesn't represent every fight. It doesn't show the times when you can get bad bloom, or when people just miss the shots completely. You need to show what it's like consistently, before deciding whether aim assist should be nerfed. However, there have been some interesting findings when it comes to controller Fortnite, as people have found out that there's actually less recoil when using a controller, therefore making it easier for players to hit the shots. And I think that's one of the reasons why people believe that controller players have better bloom. I don't think it's quite that. There were many times where I would get horrible bloom during these 20 games, but because the recoil is less, it makes it easier to keep your aim locked onto your opponent, which makes it more likely for your shots to actually hit. I kinda wish that I'd kept to the same keybinds that I used before, because this lack of muscle memory kept getting me killed. Like before, I'd use the left stick to sprint, which was the same in other games, but for this video, I decided to put edit on my left stick, which I definitely wasn't used to. It's a really good bind to edit with, but when you're so used to pressing it in all the time, it meant that I would press it down accidentally in the middle of fights, which would get me killed.
Oh, you.
These initial first few games weren't a great test, but I was still able to see that aim assist is definitely very strong from close range. It's like glue from that range, and it's apparently even stronger on linear. So far, these 20 games on controller have been really tough. At this point, I'm simply not good enough on controller to be playing in these types of lobbies. It was the transition between building, editing and shooting that I found to be really difficult, and this got me killed almost every single time. It's so much simpler on mouse and keyboard, and honestly, I started to lose my head, and by game 10, I'd actually had enough. I wanted to give up on the video altogether. I wasn't too bothered about getting wins in these 20 games. My only objective was to get into enough fights to be able to see how strong aim assist is in real in-game situations. However, because I was so hopeless on controller, I wasn't even able to do that, as I'd die before I could really shoot anyone, so I felt like I was wasting my time. Because of this, I did something that I've not done in this series before, and decided to make a brand new account, just so that I'd be able to play against players that are around my skill level when I'm using a controller, and then hopefully I'd finally be able to get a real feel for how strong aim assist is.
Oh,
So game 11 is my first game on this brand new account, and I was definitely going to make sure that I kept true to my name. With me playing on a brand new account, it meant that Epic would be putting mainly bots in my lobbies. Naturally, that made it a little boring, as they're not a challenge. But at least, I was finally able to test out aim assist. Wow, what a laser! Jesus! Eventually, I make it to the final 1v1. I'm on 14 kills, which is great, but I'm pretty sure I've not encountered a single real player. And unsurprisingly, the final player is another bot. So after toying with her, I finally decide to finish the match. Smurfing is something that I'm generally against, as I believe it's a cheap way of getting easy kills and wins against worse players. So this will be the only time that I use my second account, as clearly I'm not good on controller nowadays. However, whilst I may lack skill in controller, there are many great controller players out there, with many dominating the latest tournaments, such as Unknown Army and Wavy Jacob, both of whom have won multiple tournaments over the last few months. And this is a big reason why a lot of mouse and keyboard players have begun to complain about aim assist, with them citing it as the primary reason why controller players have been doing so well of late. Although as strong as it may be, using a controller comes with many negatives, especially in box fights, where a lack of scroll wheel reset makes it really difficult. I had to play differently on a controller compared to how I would play on keyboard and mouse, which took me a while to adapt to. I had to focus more on L2 spraying rather than trying to make edit plays, as that was way too tricky for me when playing on controller. Game 12 ends up being a very similar game to the previous one, with my lobby full of bots once again. I make it to the final 1v1 before trying to mess around with the last player.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
That nearly went horribly wrong, but eventually I do decide to stop toying with her. Okay, so that's 2 games on this account and 2 15 kill wins. But surely I won't be going against bots forever. Well, actually, it didn't take long until Epic decided to put me against real players, as game 13 is when things start to get a little bit trickier. At this point, I'm still not entirely sure whether I'm playing against AI again, but this has been noticeably more difficult than my last couple games, and my next fight confirms my suspicions that I'm facing real players now.
Oh my god. Oh, you fuck.
See? That's the aim assist people have been talking about. God damn. Whilst at risky, I spot a player harvesting some of the cars, so I take a few shots.
Oh shit. Actual player.
Oh god, I wasn't prepared for this. Once again, I press my edit button accidentally, which almost gets me killed instantly. I go to heal up, but my opponent follows me, and with me not reloading my shotgun and not feeling confident enough to edit my way out of there, I fall victim to a fellow smurfer.
Oh, I'm fucking garbage.
I might be garbage on controller, but with me playing on a brand new account, so was everybody else, which allowed me to get some early kills. Although even with the power of aim assist, I still struggled during this fight.
Oh shit. Oh my god, I'm fucking garbage.
It's quite funny really. If you judged aim assist by what you read online, you'd think that it's impossible to miss shots when you're using a controller on PC, but clearly that's far from the truth. For the average player, like myself, aim assist on PC to this strength is really important, especially considering you're coming up against mouse and keyboard players with all of their advantages.
No. Fuck.
But sometimes, I swear that my aim assist was broken.
Oh my god, what the what? Blech.
How did none of those shots connect? Although sometimes my shots would connect, but just not as many as my opponents.
What the fuck?
Even though I was still nowhere near my usual skill level, it felt good to see my skill on controller improve as the games went by. Obviously, I still made plenty of mistakes because I hadn't played enough to develop my muscle memory, but I was starting to hold my own in build fights, which was nice.
Oh shit. Oh.
Although sometimes my aim left a little to be desired.
Oh shit. Fucking hell, I'm shit.
My aim might have been slightly off these last few games, but interestingly enough, my aim was far better than it used to be when I played on Xbox.
Oh my god.
Hitting my shots was the thing that I struggled the most with back then. It's why I moved away from controller in the first place. So the fact that I was able to hit shots more consistently on PC, I found very interesting, especially with me not using a controller for 6 months. Some will say that this shows just how overpowered aim assist is on PC, but it could also be down to playing a low delay monitor, as well as PC being more responsive in general. Either way, it helped to make playing controller way more fun for me.
Oh, what the fuck? Well, he had aim assist.
Why can't my aim assist be like that? The next game, I decided to land at Misty, hoping to get involved in some early action.
Oh, give me that.
That was disgusting. Although my shotgun aim in the next fight is disgusting as well, but for all the wrong reasons, as I almost failed to kill a bot.
I am back. Fucking hell, mate.
My shotgun aim might be inconsistent, but when it comes to SMGs, it's completely different, mainly due to being able to spray and L2 at the same time, which really helped to lock onto my opponents. Another kill follows, until, yep, it's happened again. I forgot to record the rest of the game. I can't remember exactly what happened. I'd assume that I messed up and died, and was too angry to remember to record it. Ah well. Game 19, I decided to drop at Pleasant. I get 2 early kills, but neither are particularly suspect, so I won't bother to show them. But what was suspect was this guy's aim assist.
What the fuck?
So finally, we've reached game 20, and by now, I think I've got a decent understanding of how strong aim assist is on PC. It's certainly stronger than on console, but in the hands of your average player, like myself, I do think that it's completely fine. We've all seen those crazy clips of people getting absolutely lasered by controller players, but clearly those are the outliers. They stand out because they're not happening every single game. Like, this is the 20th game since testing PC aim assist, and I can't say I've had more than a few crazy examples of me melting an opponent. And honestly, I might have even done better aiming with a mouse, even though everyone claims that aim assist is OP. You don't get the same freedom that you do when using a mouse. It feels so much smoother, and despite all the melodrama about aim assist ruining the game, my first 10 games shows that you can't just rely on aim assist to be good at Fortnite. You have to be able to actually build and edit, as well as obviously having good game sense, all of which are incredibly important. Obviously, there will be the odd example of rubbish players being able to kill good players due to aim assist, but those examples are few and far between. I mean, it's rare that I myself get absolutely melted by someone. The only time that it really happens is when someone is using an AUG, or sometimes when someone is using an SMG at close range. But other than that, in my experience, it's rarely been an issue. But I don't play tournaments, so this might be a different issue for other people. In this final game, I wanted to get as many kills as possible before ending on a win, and so far it's looking good, as I'm on 10 kills with only 2 other players remaining. Obviously, the average skill level isn't the best, but with me being a controller noob, I was satisfied with how this last game was going. At this point, I'm trying to figure out where my final 2 opponents are, whilst keeping my position on the high ground. That's one down, now just one player left, and I'm excited for one last bit of L2. Eventually, I spot the final player hiding down below, and she decides to ramp up towards me. Big mistake, as that presents me with one of the easiest kills of the 20 games. So there we have our 20 games. Now this episode was a little bit different, as we were looking to see whether aim assist is as broken as many people say. So what can we draw from this? Is aim assist overpowered? Does it need nerfing? Well, it's complicated, but generally I'd say to leave it as it is. Don't get me wrong, it's definitely strong on PC, I'm not denying that, but for the average controller player, it's an absolute necessity, especially when you're playing against mouse and keyboard players who can aim with their entire arm, as well as having other numerous advantages. From what I've seen, it looks like aim assist on PC is generally only overpowered in the hands of very talented players. I suspect that these are the type of players who would still do well even without aim assist, so by giving them it makes their aim crazily strong. But can something be considered overpowered if it's completely fine for most players? And can you nerf it if it's fairly balanced for the everyday Fortnite player? I don't think you can. To me, this seems like a competitive issue, rather than something that has a huge impact on pubs, as it really only affects those top level players who already possess elite level aim. I've heard people say that it should be nerfed in arena and tournaments, but again, I'm not sure if that's the answer. Epic are in a really tricky position now, and I'm not sure what they're going to do, but all I do know is that I won't be using controller again anytime soon, because honestly, that was absolutely painful. So, what do you think of aim assist? Do you think it's overpowered on PC? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you want to support me as a content creator, then feel free to use my creator code, which is on the screen now. So anytime you buy something in the item shop and use my code, it'll go directly towards supporting the channel, which would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time for another video. Goodbye.